Hello, Graffiti Fellowship. God bless you. It's time for today's Bible reading. We're reading through the Gospel of Matthew, and today we're reading Matthew chapter 8. I'm just turning there. By the way, if you do not have a Bible of your own, those are available at church on Sunday nights, or just let me know that you need one. And we will do our best to get one to you. We want everybody to have a Bible that doesn't have a Bible. I'm reading, but I like to remind folks from time to time, I'm reading from the New Living Translation, sometimes abbreviated the NLT. And the reason I choose this translation is it's just the easiest to follow. That's all. There are a lot of different contemporary English translations, which means modern English translations. There's many different translations, and each are valuable. Each have their own sort of advantages. What I like about the NLT, though, is it's just the lowest common reading level. You don't need to be a great scholar or to have a really advanced reading level to understand it. It's just main and plain English, and I think that's really important because it's. I think we would all agree that it's beneficial to understand what we're reading. So that's not to say that this translation is better than any other translation. It's just different, and that's why I choose it. Today, Matthew chapter 8. We've just finished last time, Matthew chapter 7, which concluded the Sermon on the Mount. And so now we've sort of moved away from that setting where Jesus spent 3 chapters teaching about his kingdom. He's still teaching about his kingdom. He will be teaching about his kingdom throughout the rest of the gospel. But that was sort of a special venue, special event, special setting. And now Jesus has left that place and is going about his ministry. Matthew chapter 8 begins, large crowds followed Jesus as he came down the mountainside. So he's leaving where he had just been on the mountainside. That's why we call it the Sermon on the Mount. So he's leaving that place. Suddenly a man with leprosy approached him and knelt before him. And if you're unaware, leprosy, we don't see it commonly today. It does still exist, and it was very common back in this day. It's a very serious skin disease. Suddenly a man with leprosy approached him and knelt before him. Lord, the man said, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean. Jesus reached out and touched him. I am willing, he said. Be healed. Instantly the leprosy disappeared, and then Jesus said to him, don't tell anyone about this. Instead, go to the priest and let him examine you. Take along the offering required in the law of Moses for those who have been healed of leprosy. This will be a public testimony that you've been cleansed. When Jesus returned to Capernaum, a Roman officer came and pleaded with him, Lord, my young servant lies in bed, paralyzed and in terrible pain. Jesus said, I will come heal him. But the officer said, Lord, I'm not worthy to have you come into my home. Just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. I know this because I am under the authority of my superior officers, and I have authority over my soldiers. I need only say, go, and they go, or come, and they come. And if I say to my slaves, do this, they do it. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed. Turning to those who were following him, he said, I tell you the truth, I haven't seen faith like this in all Israel. And I tell you this, that many Gentiles will come from all over the world, east and west, and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at the feast in the kingdom of heaven. But many Israelites, those for whom the kingdom was prepared, will be thrown into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's like, kind of grinding your teeth together in anguish. Then Jesus said to the Roman officer, go back home, because you believed it has happened. And the young servant was healed that same hour. This next section, beginning in verse 14, is subtitled, Jesus Heals Many People. When Jesus arrived at Peter's house, Peter being one of the 12 disciples. Peter's mother-in-law was sick in bed with a high fever. But when Jesus touched her hand, the fever left her. And then she got up and prepared a meal for him. That evening, many demon-possessed people were brought to Jesus. He cast out the evil spirits with a simple command, and he healed all the sick. This fulfilled the word of the Lord through the prophet Isaiah, who said, "He took our sicknesses and removed our diseases." This next section is subtitled, "The Cost of Following Jesus." Verse 18, when Jesus saw the crowd around him, he instructed his disciples to cross to the other side of the lake. Then one of the teachers of religious law said to him, "Teacher, I'll follow you wherever you go." But Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens to live in, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place even to lay his head." Another of his disciples said, "Lord, first let me return and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me now. Let the spiritually dead bury their own dead." Then Jesus got into the boat and started to cross the lake with his disciples, and suddenly a fierce storm struck the lake, with waves breaking into the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him up, shouting, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." Jesus responded, "Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." Then he got up and rebuked the wind and the waves, and suddenly there was great calm. The disciples were amazed. "Who is this man?" they asked. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." Verse 28, when Jesus arrived on the other side of the lake in the region of the Gadarenes, 2 men who were possessed by demons met him. They lived in a cemetery and were so violent that no one could go through that area. They began screaming at him, "Why are you interfering with us, Son of God? Have you come here to torture us before God's appointed time?" There happened to be a large herd of pigs feeding in the distance, so the demons begged, "If you cast us out, send us into that herd of pigs." "All right, go," Jesus commanded them. So the demons came out of the men and entered the pigs, and the whole herd plunged down the steep hillside into the lake and drowned in the water. The herdsmen fled to the nearby town, telling everyone what happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the entire town came out to meet Jesus, but they begged him to go away and leave them alone. That concludes Matthew chapter 8. Look forward to seeing you next time, Matthew chapter 9. God bless.